Well, that didn't take very long. Francis Ngannou has his next fight booked. Of course, he was released from PFL last week, making him a free agent. And now he's going to be fighting on the MVP card, which is the Ronda Rousey Gina Carano event, May 16th. This was announced via press release, but let's read the article here from ESPN's Andreas Hale. It says, former UFC and PFL Super Fights heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou will make his return to MMA on May 16th as part of Most Valuable Promotions' inaugural MMA fight card, headlined by Ronda Rousey, Gina Carano. ESPN confirmed on Monday. Ngannou will face Felipe Lynch in a 5-round heavyweight bout that will serve as the co-main event to Rousey Carano, and it'll stream live on Netflix. It will be Ngannou's first MMA fight since stopping Renan Ferreira in the first round for their PFL Super Heavyweights Championship fight in October of 2024. Francis says, while the world was talking, I was busy evolving. Silence shouldn't be mistaken for my absence. It's the sound of a predator closing the distance, stepping back into the cage. It just isn't a return, it's a reclamation. My return to MMA demanded a stage that matched the scale. I don't think he wrote this, by the way. Demanded a stage that matched the scale of my ambition. Partnering with MVP to bring this event to Netflix ensures the entire world is watching. I'm ready for this new chapter. I cannot wait to entertain my fans again and remind the world exactly who I am and what I am capable of delivering on the highest stage, the comeback. So yeah, this is interesting. It's also interesting he's fighting another PFL guy, because this is a fight that, realistically could have happened under the PFL banner, but I'm imagining he got paid pretty well. When I did that video last week on Francis parting way with PFL, I figured it was going to be boxing or dirty boxing or maybe bare knuckle or something like that, where he can sort of set the terms on his next contract. So I'm not really surprised by this. Do I think the fight's going to be very compelling? No. Felipe Lynch, he's a former UFC fighter. If we have a quick look here, sort of lost in the UFC and then went over to PFL, had some success over there. He is coming off his last couple fights have been in the UFC, and he was released, I guess, back in 2024. But I remember him in PFL as well. Yeah, so he ended up winning the championship in PFL back in 2018. So yeah, he's 40 years old, so it's kind of the same age as Francis. It'll be interesting, but I think Francis obviously is going to be the betting favorite going into this fight, just with what he's been able to do. This is smart, though, because people are already going to be watching this event because of Rousey and Carano. I know MMA fans in our bubble don't think this is going to be a card that people are going to watch. They absolutely will. This is like a casuals card right now. You got Ronda Rousey, Gina Carano, now Francis on this card. People will definitely be tuning in. This certainly beefs up the card a little bit, because there will be people, whether they love him or hate him, that's going to be tuning into Francis. Now, with all that said, I can't help but think this was a missed opportunity here from the UFC. And look, I didn't think Francis was going to go back to the UFC. I said that in my video last week. I thought people were dreaming. Dana White is one of those people that holds grudges, and I didn't think something was going to get put together. But can you imagine if we would have had Francis and Alex Pereira on the White House card instead of Francis and Cyril Gahn? I don't know. I just I can't help but think this is, a lot of people say, oh, Francis never hurt the UFC with him leaving. I think with this announcement today, this is where it does hurt the UFC, because let's be honest here, the White House card, I think it's a solid card. I talked about this. There's a lot of people saying this card's terrible and all these different things. It's a solid event. It really is. I mean, you look at the fights that are on here, they're all good fights, but this isn't a fight card where you're looking at it and saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe they pulled this off." That's kind of my big complaint about the White House card, is that it's sort of a card that's just like a good card that they put together, but it's not. There's no wow factor. If they had brought back Francis for this card, you're going to have the wow factor there. And listen, I know there's a lot of fans that don't like Francis and, say all sorts of things or whatever. And listen, I've done plenty of videos on Francis where I've been critical of him about some of the stuff that's happened behind the scenes with the UFC. But him being on this card would have added way more sizzle to it. And I just feel like this card is kind of, it's a good card, but it's not like, it's not anything like super memorable. So I think this is just very interesting that this news comes out here shortly after they announced the White House card, which, to be honest, from what I'm reading everywhere, a lot of people don't like the White House card, right? They feel like it's just sort of a run-of-the-mill, solid UFC card, but nothing sort of special here. And I'm curious now, with the addition of Francis to this event, what type of what type of other fights they're going to add on here. If you're an MMA fighter that's a free agent, you want to get on this event, because I'm sure, even if you're not getting paid well, I'm sure they will get paid well. I'm sure Francis got paid well for this fight. There's going to be a lot of eyeballs on this event. So if you're a free agent right now, you should be, trying to get on this event as soon as possible. Because again, a lot of people are going to watching it. And even, listen, I think Netflix is a great platform. Most of us, 99% of us out there, I shouldn't say 99%, but the majority of people have Netflix. So it's one of those things where you don't have to take that extra step to go pay for it. You just log into your next Netflix account and you can watch it. So yeah, we'll see. This could be the start of Francis, being the guy for MVP, and we'll see how this event goes. And maybe he just stays with them and then they just find guys to fight him. But this is a very good move here by MVP. I will give credit where it's due. I think this is very smart by Francis. I think this is, again, this is where it hurts the UFC right now. I do feel that way. And let's say, it could have not even been Pereira. It could have been like, Francis against someone else. I don't know. But like, it's just the intrigue of, having Francis on the White House card would have been interesting. The only thing with Francis, obviously, is that he's, obviously getting up there in age too, hasn't fought that much. And we'll see how he looks. He's 39. He's going to be 40 in September. His last fight was against Ferreira. Didn't fight at all last year. There's been a lot of gaps in between his career here. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how he looks in this fight, as it's an MMA fight. Like I said, the last fight for him was the Renan Ferreira fight. So yeah. We'll sort of see what's going on there. Just read another statement here quickly, and then we'll look at some of the comments. I always like to get the fan response to this type of stuff. Jake Paul says, Francis is unequivocally the best heavyweight MMA fighter in the world. In addition, creates star power on a card like that's never seen before in this sport. Like, imagine if Jake and Francis, they could have done this in PFL. Would have been a little bit more interesting. Although, again, the hook here for this event is Rousey and Carano. Francis is one of the most feared knockouts artists the sports has ever seen. His return to MMA instantly makes this a historic night. Felipe Lins is a proven champion who built his reputation the hard way against elite competition and knows his chance to cement his legacy in the sport, take Brazil to the top of the sport. Actually, now that I mention it, Lins hasn't fought at heavyweight in a while because the Cutelaba fight was light heavyweight, right? What's the height and reach in this one? So he is 6'2" with a 78-inch reach. Francis is 6'4" with an 83-inch reach. So yeah, he's going to be obviously bigger. When has he fought at heavyweight last? It would have been, the Bozer fight in 2020. So has it been that long? Yeah, he hasn't fought at heavyweight in like 6 years. So that's something to keep in mind too. The size difference in this fight. Let's go look at the comments. I always like to see this because of course people are going to have all sorts of things to say. Let's go to Home of Fight. Let's see there we go. Let's see here. And I don't care. Yeah. Part of me is disgusted he didn't get back in the game. Then again, I can't oppose a man for getting the bag. That's kind of how I feel too. Lins went life and death with Ian Cutelaba. Ngannou's going to sleep in bad. Yeah, I do think Francis will probably win this fight early in the fight. That Netflix event is about to be the biggest MMA event of the year. Dana Sawash. I mean, that's something to consider too. Like the Paramount era has not been good for the UFC so far. And this is the first event. Like we just had 326 over the weekend, and you can go read the comments on my post-fight show or even look at the chat. People are not happy about this event. I have not seen this much backlash in a while. I actually had a friend of mine who was at UFC 326 and he was like, I wish I didn't go. And this is a guy that I know that goes to a lot of UFC events. He gets good seats and he's sort of known for going to events all the time. And he told me, you know what? I didn't like this event this weekend. So yeah, I mean, I feel like the tide's not turning. UFC is always going to be king, but I feel like of all years, Paramount has really got off to a very slow start in my opinion. And this event, they're exactly right. There's going to be more eyeballs on this event than probably any UFC event we've had so far, including the White House. This will, I will say this right now, this will get more eyeballs than the White House card, I think, just because of the names that are involved. Now, granted, it is the White House and there'll probably be people tuning into the novelty of it, but I will say this will do good numbers as far as the Rousey and Carano side of things. So yeah, there we go. Francis has his next fight booked. We'll see if this is a sign of things to come with him competing for MVP, and we'll see how this all pans out. So I want to know your thoughts in the comment section below. Are you surprised by this? How do you think that fight goes? Do you think Francis will have a future with MVP going forward? Are you going to be watching this event? Do you think this event so far will get more eyeballs than the White House card? Let me know in the comments. Follow me on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, @Lynch on Sports. My name is James Lynch. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.